he had addressed was sweating profusely despite the cold outside, and wiped at his brow with a handkerchief. "We want to serve the struggle against the infidels. That's why we are here." Mullah Omar's eyes narrowed as he studied the man. A soft, city-bred, corrupt government scientist. Intelligence had shown that in spite of all his claims of piety, he indulged in loose women and gambling. Mullah Omar shook his head sadly at what things had come to. Just a few years ago, a sinner such as this would have been stoned to death. Now he not only had to deal with them, but had to pay them. "Hamid, I know all about how pious you are. The $5 million you seek are with us. Now, just show me what you have, and let's all get out of here." The man called Hamid motioned to his companion, who had been sitting a few feet behind him. The man got up and asked the Taliban bodyguards to help him. Two of the black-turbaned men helped him pull two heavy boxes into the middle of the room. Mullah Omar studied the boxes curiously. He had never received formal education, and to him, the babblings the scientists subjected him to meant nothing. He knew that science was nothing before the will of Allah. Otherwise, how would a mere village preacher like him have been blessed with the opportunity to lead the faithful in Afghanistan? That conviction had helped him keep his faith, even after the infidels had invaded his land and scattered his men. Hamid started talking, something about cesium-137 bought from the Chechens, uranium from Pakistani stocks, botulinum from Libya, and something called tetrodotoxin. Mullah Omar felt his head hurting from the complicated words, and then stopped Hamid. "I know nothing of all this. I just want to know if what you claim this can do for us is true. Abu Jafar, is this as these men claim?" The man called Abu Jafar leaned towards Mullah Omar. He may have looked like the other Taliban bodyguards, but he was in fact a biotechnology doctorate from an Ivy League university. He had spent the first 30 years of his life as an unremarkable Iraqi immigrant in the US, working as a researcher at a leading pharmaceutical company. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the exhortations of the preacher at his local mosque, had brought him into the fold, and with his education and qualifications, Osama and Mullah Omar had realized he was meant for greater missions than strapping on a bomb and blowing himself up. "I have confirmed it. If we use these wisely, we could bring the infidels to their knees." Al-Zawahiri, an educated man unlike Omar, was rubbing his hands in satisfaction. Before coming to the meeting, he had done his research on the material these Pakistani scientists claimed to have. He knew that, used correctly, they could devastate the West. The Americans had made such a fuss about weapons of mass destruction, and even destroyed Iraq, hunting for fictional WMDs. Now Al-Zawahiri would show them what mass destruction really meant, when several Western capitals were all hit simultaneously, each with a different weapon. He smiled at Hamid. "Then Allah has indeed shown us the way. Give these men their just rewards, and send them on their way." Mullah Omar and Al-Zawahiri retreated to the back of the hut, while two of the Taliban bodyguards stepped behind the Pakistanis and shot them once each in the back of the head. "Muzzle flashes! I see muzzle flashes, sir!" Captain David Bremsack immediately held up his high-powered binoculars to take a closer look at the hut. He could see nothing inside, but he trusted Dan, the sniper, in his small four-man team. If Dan had seen muzzle flashes inside, then it was clear that the hut was occupied by someone other than a shepherd taking an afternoon nap. He turned to the bearded man wearing dark wraparound sunglasses to his left. "Mike, I think we have ourselves something here." Mike Fortew just nodded with a slight smile and picked up his portable radio. "Eagle Eye, confirm hostile targets at the last coordinates we sent." There was a click in response, as Mike took off his glasses and looked at David with his blue eyes. "You know what I could really do with? A cold beer and a juicy steak." David laughed. They had been trekking in the mountains of the Paktia province of Afghanistan for the last 15 days, living off their rations and the land. They were members of the secretive Task Force 121, created to hunt down HVTs, so-called high-value targets, in the seemingly never-ending war on terror. Osama was dead and fish food by now, but his acolytes were hard at work, and David's job was to hunt them down. David reached into his pack and took out some chewing gum. "This is the best I can offer."